Outrage is growing around the world over the handling of the investigation into Malaysia Flight 370. So should the United States be taking the lead on this missing airliner? Let's ask former U.S. Ambassador to the UN, John Bolton. Good evening, Ambassador. You just heard Congressman Peter King saying that America needs to be more involved in this, that we, and by the way, there's no question that we have the best assets, the best ability to resolve a situation like this. But is there an international protocol that allows us to go in?
No, there's not. And that's really why it requires leadership out of Washington. You know, as you were just saying, 8, 9, we're in the 10th day now of this mystery, no trace of the plane at all. And yet, at top levels of the U.S. government, we've approached this in a very laid-back fashion. I think at the working level, they've probably got a lot of information and thoughts. But if we're not sort of putting our foot in the door in Malaysia and elsewhere, we're not going to be able to bring to bear the capabilities we have. This isn't necessarily going to make us friends in Malaysia or China or other countries, but if we don't find a way to get more heavily involved, I'm afraid a lot of this data is simply never going to be recovered.
Well, and, you know, Ambassador, I mean, you know, without getting into the politics of what's going on in this country with the president and how the world looks at us now, you know, as Americans go travel more and more around the world, can they actually feel safe? I mean, you know, there's something about being an American where we kind of feel like I'm an American. No matter where I am in the world, they're going to, you know, they're going to come and help me. But isn't this an example of America not getting involved unless we're invited?
Well, I think that's a real problem, and I think this is one of these cases where you don't wait for the phone call, but you show up at the various points where we need to be involved and just stand outside the door until it opens and then walk in and say, we're here to help. We've got to look at what the different governments involved have at stake here, because their interests are not, as we would see it in the United States, simply to find out what happened as soon as possible. There are a lot of interests.
What do you mean, the different interests of the different governments?
Well, let's just start with Malaysia. Number one, this is their national airline that's just lost a 777. And I think until they get this cleared up and can point the finger at somebody else, a lot of foreigners are going to find ways to avoid flying on Malaysian Airlines. So if there were problems with these pilots, both Malaysian Airlines and the government are not going to be in a hurry to share that information. We know from the military in Malaysia, they had some information, they said it publicly, then they contradicted it, then they put it back on the table. The Malaysian government has a lot to answer for here, and Boeing and other private sector firms that have an interest because it's a Boeing plane are not going to be able to shoehorn the Malaysian government the way really only the U.S. government can.
But Ambassador, should the Malaysian military have scrambled some jets when they saw this plane in their space, or this aircraft, and the transponders were off, so they obviously didn't know who or what this was?
Well, I think they've got a lot of explaining to do, but it also shows why the mystery of this plane can really extend far wider geographically. We've heard some experts say correctly that the area through the Indian Ocean and up into Southeast Asia is filled with military and civilian radars. They say, how could the plane have gone undetected? Well, bribery, ideology, corruption can all explain how officials charged with radar surveillance can miss an airplane like this. That's why so much of this, it seems to me, depends not simply on technical experts, but political pressure, to put it bluntly, from the U.S. government to say, we want to know what you know, and we want to know it now, and we want more cooperation.
All right. Ambassador John Bolton, always good to get your opinion. Thanks so much. And